Cool. So, hey everyone, thanks for if you watched the last video and all the comments and all the questions that people have asked about it. Really appreciate it. I found it quite interesting. If you haven't checked that out and you're checking this one out, go back and go and check out the evolution of Wrong Day. I'm Elliot, bass player in KST, and today we're going to look at a track called Yourself, which was on the Tale of Two Cities album, which I've got right here. Yeah, I don't know, just had it there, so I thought I'd show it. Yeah, this one is probably one of my favourite songs off the album, I think. Mainly because we recorded it with a chap called Jacob Newgard, who we become very close friends with, down in London, if I remember rightly, I think it's Pierce Rooms. It had some kind of Neve desk there, which was pretty big at the time to have. Yeah, so it was an unusual experience because the band was supposed to go down and work with another producer, stroke artist. I think he was called Octave. I'm looking around because I thought I'd have the CD to hand of that version, but it quickly kind of became quite apparent that Octave wasn't going to be a team player and work with the band, more like take the track that we were to do and do a remix of it, which wasn't really the plan. The plan was to work and collaborate with him on the day. So we'd set up and we were going to do this sort of collaboration project, but instead we ended up recording Yourself with Jacob, and then ultimately Octave's version didn't really make the cut for the album, and that Jacob's version was much more superior. I really like working with Jacob Newgard, and I think everybody else in the band did as well. We did a whole bunch of B-sides with him. I can't remember which ones off the top of my head. Have I got? I don't know, I'm just getting the CD. So it's our B-sides album. I'm just going to read off. So we did You Never Know with Jacob. We did EMB with Jacob. We did Wide Awake with Jacob. We did Bring Me Down with Jacob. Yeah, we did Fallout, and then it's Jacob's Yourself No Remorse mix on the B-side, which is what kind of coincides with about what I want to talk about today, because during getting ready for our La Pub show which we did on the 10th of September, which was fantastic, and I have to thank everybody who came out to that. If you're watching this, made the night it was just amazing to see so many people come out and watch us again and participate, and so we decided that we wanted to put a version together of Yourself we hadn't really done before, which was something between the album version and Jacob's No Remorse remix. So I got onto the Pro Tools system here and got the two versions up and kind of had a little play around, and we got to something that was basically like what I'm calling a retransformed or transformed version, a different mashup of it that we could work out and play live, which is what we done. So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. But before I start, I just, if you haven't checked out the B-side album and you're interested in this sort of stuff, then most of this stuff on here, like I said, the tracks I just read out are Jacob's production and mixes, and we did a lot of it at various different studios, but a bulk of it was done at Rockfield in Monmouth, which we absolutely bloody love being in Rockfield Studios in Monmouth. It was a hell of an experience and a real pleasure. If you ever get a chance to watch, I think, the BBC documentary on Rockfield, at the end they literally list every artist that's been there, and if you're quick enough and snappy enough, you'll be able to see our name on the big screen at the end, as being a part of that sort of legacy and that history of Rockfield. It's a great honour, really. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's have a look. So I'm going to play you the first bit of the album version, Just just to familiarize people if they haven't heard it before, or can't remember. But I'm pretty sure if you like the band, you're gonna like this track.
To anybody's expectations. Don't really think you understand the type of mind that you're facing. Misplacing the point. Keep your distance, cause your persistence is really trying.
So yeah, so that's the intro and a bit of the first verse with Nick there. So yeah, we recorded this down in London with Jacob. This is the album version. And then afterwards, the label wanted a remix of one of the songs. I think it was to go on. When we went out with Pitch Shifter, we did this dual collab sort of release single. Like unofficially, it was just to give away or just to put out to promote the tour, essentially. Because, yeah, it was the first time out with Pitch Shifter, and I think Pitch Shifter hadn't been out for some time before that. So we put one of their singles on, we put a track on, and I think the label requested a remix to go out to be a little bit more, I guess, electronic sounding, I'm going to say. And so Jacob remixed this track. And yeah, so it kind of sounds a little bit like this. I mean, I love this version as well, don't get me wrong. Let's check it out. Yeah, that's the wrong one, isn't it?
Anybody's expectations. Don't really think you understand the type of mind that you're facing. Misplacing the point. Keep your distance, cause your persistence is really trying my patience. Basically you're pissing me off. Just agree to disagree and nothing's lost. Buzzing around me like a fly round shit. Leave it there, you're just you, I'm just me, so quit.
So yeah, as you can tell, it's it's a lot different sounding. It's got a lot more electronical aspects to it. It sounds, I guess, it sounds much thicker and larger, I guess, than perhaps what the band had recorded. But obviously Jacob had a bit of time to spend on this and to build that, carve that soundscape out for this song. So yeah, I mean, I really like both versions, and me being me is start thinking about things and start looking at things and start wondering what ifs. Can I take this element of that song and put it here? So ultimately, I really liked the choruses in the remix, the No Remorse mix. I think they just sound massive. They just and they have, I guess, the rhythm. And the bounce that kind of, I don't know, does something for my ears and for me. But there are also elements of the original that I preferred over the No Remorse mix, so I kind of just wanted to start adding these things together. And so what started to transpire was this sort of version between the two, or of the two, that kind of sat a little bit more in harmony. So I'm going to play you just the intro of this version, and yeah, let's see what that sounds like.
Just bring it! living up to anybody's expectations. Don't really think you understand the type of mind that you're facing. Misplacing the point. Keep your distance, cause your persistence is really trying my patience. Basically you're pissing me off. Just agree to disagree and nothing's lost. Buzzing around me like a fly round shit. Leave it there, you're just you, I'm just me, so quit.
So yeah, I mean, it's using the intro from Jacob's No Remorse mix with the, you know, that stuttered guitar at the start, then going into the No Remorse mix, and then kind of fading back out and heading back into the standard album version of the verse. But when I started doing this, I started to notice all these little sort of sampley things that were going off in the one version, or at least what I thought was, because sometimes you get overtones in a mix down and all different things, like sometimes you add verb and delays, and then all of a sudden you start hearing these like not horrible overtones, but like real melodic and harmonious overtones that aren't necessarily notes being played, but because of the atmosphere and everything that's been put on them, you start pulling out these sort of tones that sound a little bit like notes being played. So started looking at some of that sort of stuff. I noticed that there were like reverse sort of strings or synth noises going on in the one version that I wanted to have in this version, but obviously because I don't have the stems for this, by the way. This is all just done from stereo bounces of the original mixes. So what I started to do is have a look at like some of these samples here, and then kind of manipulate them a little bit. So I'm just going to quickly do a snapshot of this, turn it up a bit so you can hear it. Yeah, so you know they show up every now and again, every couple of bars it will kick off again. So and that's panning round as well. I've got that bouncing from left and right on an auto pan, but you know, here it is again, but with the rest of the music.
No longer living up to anybody's.
Just one more time.
No longer living up to any.
So that was actually taken from the No Remorse mix, and some EQ put on just to keep it a bit brighter and keep that that kick down a little bit. That was one of the elements. Have some more here. Yes, this one. So this one was like one of the main sort of synths you hear at the start. Kind of feel like that it comes in again during the verses on the No Remorse mix, but obviously wasn't there on the original. So I thought, what would it sound like if these sort of synth noises appeared on the original verses? Would it work? And I think it does. So let me play the sound first, and then I'll play it with the track. So yeah, completely drenched in a bit of reverb, but you can't, when it's in with the mix, you can't really tell that. So let's just play that with the current version of the song.
Look, you don't know me, don't really wanna claim supremacy. Ask me what's my name, I say KSTMC, maybe. The microphone controller, master of the ceremony, but I'm a lyricist, so check out this little therapy. Street poetic, and when I die you might remember me. No love lost, he who cares will have the memory. They who give a toss can always call on me.
So yeah, that was another sort of element I wanted to add, because I really like, you know, those sounds, really like the synth stuff. I'm quite a big fan of adding in sort of those sorts of sounds in a mix. And even if you can't really make out what they are, they add atmosphere underneath things. This one kind of sits a little bit, not on top, but you know, fairly on top. You can definitely tell that there's an extra part there, and that it's not just ambient sound or anything like that going on. So yeah, I think that's one of the ones I've done there. I think we've got some other sounds going on here. I'm not sure what they are. I'm just going to quickly play them to find out what they are. Right, so that's where I've dropped in the actual chorus from the No Remorse mix. So that is the actual chorus where I've just dropped it down. Let's see what this one is. Oh, okay. Yeah. I've forgotten to put that in. So there's this bit at the end where it just kind of loops over that sort of reverse string part with Rob's guitar line, Rob's original guitar line. It's just a loop, and it does this, you know, nice sort of beat outro that goes for about, I don't know, 20-30 seconds at the end of the No Remorse mix. But it's just the same pattern as sort of the chorus chords, or at least it can, because there's no real definition in the chord changes there. There's just got some ambient sound going on, and there's no real definition in the chord changes. So I thought it would work quite well with the chorus. So let's just put those two in, solid in, and see if we can hear the difference. So yeah, I mean the fade down there is where the other track comes in, the old track fades back in to take over. So yeah, so that's one way I thought I could thicken out or add a little bit of atmosphere to the original No Remorse remix chorus. Yeah, I think it works quite well. What else we got in here? So we go back to the samples where we've got the reverse strings, more of the... So, yeah. So talking about earlier a little bit about overtones and probably hearing like melodic notes or harmonious notes that work within the song simply because they're generated from reverbs and delays. They're not really necessarily played, but they overlap and then they produce something. I could hear something going on. I like I said, because I don't have the stems for the No Remorse remix or the originals. Unfortunately, we lost all our stems from Tale of Two Cities album. Apparently there was some flood in the basement of the old label. And everything, well, a lot of things were lost, and one of which was the stems for this album, which is kind of annoying, but you know, no pointless crying over spilt milk. It's done. So we can't really get access to the original sort of recording stems, or you know, the broken down the Dave and Rob's guitar parts, or my bass line, or the vocals, or just the drums, isolated stems like that. So you know, doing this sort of thing takes a little bit of thinking and just trial and error and just seeing if you can. I think this one turned out quite well, but in hearing these overtones, I added a different synth line to it. It sounds quite harsh on its own, so let's hear it. That's enough of that. It kind of sounds like a reversing track, granted, yeah, but I'm going to bring it in now with the chorus. I'm going to drop the volume down. I'll tell you what, I'll do it without that. I'm just going to drop the volume down a touch and then bring it back up so you can hear it. So yeah, that sort of reverse truck noise that I'm going to nickname it now, that was born out of just kind of hearing some overtones going on in that chorus line, possibly with the added lo-fi sort of outro bits underneath it. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I quite like that. It's subtle, but at the same time, it just adds a bit more definition to those overtones or those other notes that are in there that seem just a little bit under everything. Yeah, I quite like that. What else we got here? Oh, so the middle section in the original Yourself. Let's play. Let's fucking find it. I think it's there. Yeah. Okay. So. So yeah, it's quite fairly basic. I think it was just off and on, offbeat and on the beat chord stabs from the guys. So I think the one did it on, the other one did it off, and their pan sort of left and right. Simple bass lines following the root notes, bending a couple of odd notes here and there, and a straight beat. I think obviously I think Jacob did a little bit of production where he did that kind of like stuttering stuff. A bit like what Linkin Park was similar to at the time, but not quite the same as what they were doing. And it was fairly, fairly straightforward. I think overly complicated. I think there's no Remorse mix. He started to push the boundaries a little bit with all that glitch noises and some of the breakbeat stuff that was added in and something like that. So again, I spent a bit of time trying to blend the two tracks together in some ways, and again I think it kind of works. I had something else I added in, a few other samples here and there. I mean hardly anything, but just a few bits and bobs. So yeah, let's take a listen to that and see what that's. So yeah, I mean it's a little, it sounds a lot more exciting than probably the album version, but it does have both put together in there. So a lot more glitches, a lot more breakbeat noises, and generally just has a bit more excitement there for me. I think what I was quite pleased about was kind of adding in, because the original it never appeared again apart from the intro, and I always really quite liked the sound. It was one of the first times. For me, I think, was when we were in a real professional studio environment with somebody who knew how to manipulate like the automation of these plugins that you get in these sort of DAWs, and yeah, it kind of, when you hear somebody do that to just your recorded bog standard recorded guitar sound, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, that sounds amazing. How did you do that? And then you start learning how to do these things yourself. It opens up a whole other level of production. So yeah, it kind of sounds a bit like. Where is it? I mean, I just love that. It's so simple, and it's just a stuttered filter gate, I guess. Perhaps with a slight phase on it. I don't know, but. Like I said, that's what you hear at the start of the original on the album, and it's also on this version that I've done, but I've slipped that sample back in just before the very last chorus, so just to take it. The trouble is yeah, I mean that's it in a nutshell, really. If you're interested in hearing this track, I think I'm going to put the full version up on our Bandcamp, but not anywhere else. It will only be on our Bandcamp. I'll add the link into the description as always. And if anybody's got any questions about this song, what again, anything that we used, what we did at the time, or just generally, just leave them in the comments and we'll do our best to get back to you. And if I don't know, I can find out, or somebody will know, I'm sure. But yeah, this is one of my, probably, I don't know, it's hard to say it, but I think it's one of my top 3 all time, or certainly off the album. It's hard to categorize your music into sort of ranking, but this one has a soft spot in my heart. For many reasons, because of who we met because of it. It was one of our first professional studio sessions, and genuinely, I think the song's really well written, and then the production value just really kind of helps the song. It's a great song. So if you like I said, if you haven't heard any of the versions, go and check them both out on the B-sides of the album, and then we'll put up this. Well, I don't want to call it a remix, but it's definitely a transformed or a mashup of both versions up on our Bandcamp for you to enjoy. Yeah, cool. Thanks for tuning in.